Yeah, and I think one thing, just as long as we're just jumping right down that road, but the North Adams, Massachusetts, that's there's a lot of fun stories just within that right there.
Oh, my.
Especially with all this sportsy buzz we have going on.
Oh,
Tell us a little story about how you are connected to North Adams, Massachusetts, and pretty hardcore to sports.
Well,
I don't think a lot of people would know how connected to sports and or sports broadcasting you are.
Right.
My uncle, his name was Bucky Bullet. Okay. He was the voice of the Berkshires. That's what I called him. The voice
Google
of the
that
Berkshires.
shit.
Yes.
Google.
Yeah.
Everybody, Google.
And he was a sportscaster, and he also did a lot for kids' sports, basketball and all that kind of stuff. And he would take us to Archie Moore, who was a boxer, had a camp right there in North Adams, Massachusetts. And he would announce the next boxing, not boxing, but wrestling that was going to be the next ones up. And of course, my cousins and I, Ricky and Denny, we were a threesome. And I spent the summers with my grandmother. And so it was wonderful. We would go to the wrestling matches, and we loved it when it was women wrestlers, but we really loved it when it was midget wrestling. little people wrestling. Oh my gosh, that was the best.
Oh my.
What year are we talking about?
We're talking, let's see, 56.
Oh, wow.
Something like that.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
so this was kind of the beginnings of like pro wrestling,
well,
kind of what turned into like WWE type wrestling.
Yeah,
right?
that kind of stuff,
Wow.
that kind of stuff. And he would let us go with him on Friday nights when he announced the next group that was two people that was gonna wrestle and stuff like that. And we had a ball. We ran around that place like it belonged to us, And on Saturdays, he was
the Joe Rogan of the 50s.
He was. And he had a great voice. Now, the thing about him was he had tuberculosis when he was a young man, and they took out one of his lungs. So he was like this shrivelly kind of man with only one lung, but he had this booming voice. That's why radio was so big. You could have, if you had a great voice, it didn't matter if you looked like Frankenstein.
Right.
It was a giant asset. It was a giant asset.
Yeah.
And he had the voice for it. But anyway, they built a memorial for him right in front of City Hall.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And it says Bucky Bullet. I did this thing. Hey, listen, if there's ladies out there, well, men can do it too if you want to. But if you're feeling like you're not enough, if you're feeling like you don't have the self-confidence or you're missing something you feel like in your personality, let me tell you how, and a woman told me this years and years ago. She said, what you want to do is you want to do something for someone anonymously and never tell anybody. You can't tell anybody.
Yeah.
Never. And what that does is it builds up a self-esteem and a self-confidence in yourself, because you have this secret that's only between you and God.
But it's a good secret.
And it is the most fulfilling secret. It really is, because it's so hard for us to not tell something we've done good.
Right.
We want to tell everybody, hey, look what I did. This was such a good thing. But if you do it, and even the person you do it for doesn't know it was you, it's done in secret, and you never tell another living soul, you have it's incredible how much it builds you up.
That's great.
Mm-hmm.
But I did this thing for my uncle, and I finally did tell my cousins, because people had said to them, hey, we've been to Cooperstown and we have found a brick that says Bucky Bullet, voice of the Berkshires, and they're like, we don't know who did it. Well, we're totally clueless who did it. What was me? Oh. And I had all the paperwork.
Cat's out of the bag now.
And all that stuff. Well, I told Denny. That's why I'm telling you now.
Oh, I gotcha.
But I told Denny
was Bucky's son.
Right. He had 4 boys.
That's your cousin.
Right.
Yes.
And I had bought that brick for him. And like I said, I had the paperwork for it and everything else. And so I told Denny about it one time, and he just started crying because he's like, people are coming up to me and asking me, hey, who put this brick in there for your dad? And he's like, I don't know. I don't know. So I sent the paperwork to him, so he had it,
That's cool.
as a reminder that that's up there. I've never been back to Cooperstown to see the brick, so I know it's there someplace because people were coming up to my cousins and saying, hey, I saw the brick of your dad. So anyway, I just say that because that is such an important way to fill yourself with confidence, to do something that nobody knows.
That's interesting.
Yeah,
I haven't heard of. I mean,
yeah, try it sometime.
There's a lot of times there's that, you pay it forward to the person in the
Right,
drive-through, and sometimes,
right.
but they can see it's you and they
Right,
wave or
right.
whatever.
Right.
And I've done that a few times, but that's a good idea. And
Yeah.
I've always said that it seems like you get more humble people when you don't want your name on the building that you donated. Like,
Yeah.
Just call it the Children's Center,
Yeah.
not the Williams Children's Center.
Right,
Just putting
right.
your name on the building.
Right.
I don't know. It feels more. I don't know.
Yeah.
That's good. I love that.
Yeah. That was just a lady that knew I was going through a hard time, and she said, this is going to make you feel better.
Wow.
And it did.
Tune in live every Thursday night at 7 p.m. Central.
On the Unsung Screamers Facebook page, YouTube channel, and Twitter.
And check out our Unsung Screamers podcast.
Wherever you get your podcasts.
Ah!